What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. This is the penultimate race of Season 1 of F1 2018 Career Mode. You can see it's the Brazilian Grand Prix. Breezing through practice. The pace is actually pretty good up against our teammate and the others in the field, which is always a nice way to start the weekend. Always seems to be the case for us struggling Friday practice this time, and in Mexico, the last episode, that definitely wasn't the case. But here we are. We've gone through all the practice programs. We are going to fix a powertrain issue with the development. This one failed on this occasion. I think I got it confused last episode. I said that we had a power unit upgrade fail. I misremembered it was for this episode. I'm kind of bulk recording episodes in advance, but here we are for qualifying. You can see we just about breezed through qualifying one. Did the one time and didn't want to risk using more than one set of tires, and we just about squeaked through. But here we are for Q2. I think the banker time that we set was a 1 minute 8.3, which is okay, but it's not going to get us through to Q2 with that sort of time. Second lap was much better, 1 minute 7.9, but that's still not quite good enough. I feel like the AI is still going to improve to the point where that's going to knock us out. So I decided to do a cool down lap and thought about going out again, but I think I might just come back to the pits and fit a new set of tyres before we give our teammate a bit of a cheeky slipstream. I'm not too sure if that helped or not. I hope it did. But anyway, we're going to go back out again. Fresh set of tyres, 3 laps worth of fuel, and see if we can go for an absolute blast. The fact that my teammate isn't in P9 anymore means that it probably did help him. So, yeah, hopefully he is secure and safe into Q3. So, looks like the pace maybe isn't as strong as what it was in Mexico. We were just on another level there at that circuit. But with an absolutely perfect lap, who knows? We might be able to mix it with our teammate and possibly be best of the rest once again. But at this point in time, the lap is fairly solid. We're up by a tenth and a half. Make that 2 tenths. We've just found that time out of nowhere through the middle sector, which is nice to see. The car achieves a lot of its lap time through the third sector. Straight line, obviously, being the second best engine in the field. Oh my goodness. Yep, that just happened, and I still to this day do not know how I managed to survive that back end loss and still managed to come out the other side of that gaining time. Across the line, we're through to Q3. What a lap. 1 minute 7.5. Oh man, here's the replay of that. I was just opposite lock for days. It's due in part to the setup. I was struggling in Friday practice, like practice 1 and practice 2. So I had to go with a really aggressive setup to make up for the lack of pace. And again, we have the same issue going across in Q3. We only did the 1 lap on this occasion. We didn't have the tyres to do 2 runs, so that was unfortunately it. And we went even slower than what we did in Q2, so that's pretty unfortunate. 1 minute 7.9. Charles goes even faster in Q3 for the first time in his career, and makes us look pretty silly. So it's P10 for the Brazilian Grand Prix. But going back to the setup, I went to time trial, had a look at, who set times, and turns out my old mate, my teammate actually, from Veloce, Formula Danny, I think he had the record, but his setup was so aggressive. It was like an F1 2017 setup, so he had like 1.7 wings and like 10 ballast. So I'm like, what? I thought like 9 ballast was really pushing it. That's what we did last episode. But this is taking it to a whole new extreme, and quite interesting to see that it's actually working, like, on this game. I thought 10 ballast was impossible, but it worked somehow. We haven't tested it out in the race. It could be like Bambi on ice. We don't know yet, so we might have to be a little bit careful with that. But I think with fuel load, we should be fine. I'll make the car heavier, make it less nimble, and if we just are a little bit easy with the steering, we should be fine. But let's go to the race.
As surely as the sun rises in the morning, the Brazilian Grand Prix packs out the grandstands and creates incredible drama. Title deciders, heartbreak, triumph and home glory. All these and more can be found in abundance here at the Autodromo José Carlos Pache. Also here, of course, is Anthony Davidson. Let's talk about Mr. Monaco. That was a great podium in the last race, so can they keep that momentum going this weekend?
It's always nice to come into a Grand Prix weekend on a high, but your expectations are based much more on your practice and qualifying runs, so it's the momentum from those sessions that they'll be hoping to carry into the race today.
We're almost ready to go then, and this is what the starting grid looks like for today's race. Kimi Räikkönen starts today from pole position, and starting alongside in P2 is Sebastian Vettel. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Ricciardo, Hamilton, Nico Hülkenberg, and Sainz. Mr. Monaco, Verstappen. They'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. Perez and Charles Leclerc, Alonso, Van Dorn, Romain Grosjean and Hartley, Gasly, Bottas, Kevin Magnussen and Lance Stroll, Ocon and Sergei Sirotkin rounds off the grid.
Oh my goodness, there are a lot of penalties. Welcome guys to the Brazilian Grand Prix. I reckon if we have a good qualifying in Abu Dhabi, like top 6, we could be looking at pole position. I'm not too sure, but here we are for the race. I think we're doing a 2-stop, starting on the supers, going to supers again, and then fitting on the softs to go to the end of the race. That's not normally a tyre strategy I would employ. I normally like to knock out the harder compound, either in the first or the second stint, but we don't quite have that option. We're gonna go for the 2 softer compounded tyres, try and get the undercut versus others who might want to play the harder tyre a little earlier. And we'll see how that goes from there. But I don't know. I'm not sure about the race pace. We don't really have the aero to follow cars through the middle sector. We are a bit of a straight line speed demon, so we'll have to make that work for us. 5 red lights. And it's go time here in the Brazilian Grand Prix. Not a great start. Verstappen absolutely launches off the line there, and he'll be on the front foot heading into turn 1. He runs a little bit wide. Gives us a little bit of a squeeze. And again, there's contact through turn 2. So, not a great start to this Grand Prix. It must be said he's weaving across the track as well, so we had to pretty much go onto the AstroTurf to avoid. It's now 3 wide as Charles gets squeezed out by us there. I had no real choice. I've missed the braking marker as well, just looking out for other cars around me, and we give up those 2 spots. So, pretty frustrating start to this Brazilian Grand Prix. We swapped places with Charles off the grid, and now all of a sudden he's back in front of us again. So, pretty hectic way to start this one, but it's a start nonetheless. Let's see if we can use our pace to move forward now. There's a yellow flag behind us. I think it was for one of the McLarens. Some kind of reliability failure there. I don't believe there was a crash. You probably know about that if there was one. But yeah, he I think retires from the Grand Prix. Yes, they did. So no safety car deployed, no virtual safety car, no nothing. We haven't seen a virtual one in a while. Slipstream DRS on our teammate there, and that's us up in a P8 once again, getting the ascendancy in Sauber there. That's Esteban Ocon, I believe, looking to set up a move on Charles as well, and he gets a great run. It's actually Sergio Perez, but Charles goes defensive into turn 1, turn 4, tries to squeeze him off. Can't quite get that executed, and he will drop the place there back down to P9, P10. So, interesting start. The Sauber's possibly not quite having the pace in the early stages of this Grand Prix. Hopefully as the fuel load burns off, the car can feel a little bit nicer and we can move forward in this Grand Prix. But yeah, pretty frustrating start for Charles. He's got overtaken now by Bottas, I believe, who also had a grid penalty. I swear it's like Bottas getting the grid penalties every single race and Hamilton out front. 100% reliability, like nothing is going wrong for him. But meanwhile, Sergio looks pretty pacey at this stage. Goes up the inside into turn 1. We'll have the inside though for turn 2. And we fend him off. But the exact same thing happened on the next lap. He gets another godly run. We're in overtake and rich fuel mixture, but it's still not enough to keep him at bay. 1.7 wings, you know, which in the grand scheme of things is a really high downforce. It's fairly low. It's supposed to be pretty good on the straights, but the slipstream on this game is really bringing the AI into the fore in this one. Lap 10 mode, bringing it into the pits, and we're going to fit on the supers to take us a decent way into this Grand Prix now. So Bottas responds at the exact same time. It's Mercedes v Sauber, and with our 20% boost in pit crew times, that actually is the difference between us and Bottas. So So thank you very much, Sauber. I'll be giving you guys a round of beers after this one is done. Rejoining on the circuit, it's P16 actually. But a lot of other people still yet to make their stops as Stroll. I'm getting everything wrong this episode, it seems. Every time I need to read out a driver's name or read out a position, it's wrong. I'm watching Crofty too much. But anyway, making good progress now. Hulkenberg has decided to go on the harder compound, and this is where we need to strike. We need to get in front of these guys who are electing to be a little bit of a boat at this section of the Grand Prix. I think this will be a pretty decisive strategy call for us if we can get this move done. Up the inside, he goes defensive a little bit, so the squeeze was on, and contact was made into turn 4, but we got the move done nonetheless. And that's job done. I think that's a bit of a fail on Renault's part, because we're going to get the undercut in the next stint, and the ball's going to be in their court to try and chase us down. And they may have to contend with traffic later on, just trying to do a bit of forward thinking in this race. But here goes Bottas up the inside. He's got mega pace. I think it was only going to be a matter of time before he got in front of us, and we'll let him go. We'll chuck it into low ERS deployment and save the battery. Vettel is out of the Grand Prix. Vettel is out of the Grand Prix. Sebastian Vettel is out of the Brazilian Grand Prix, our championship leader by 15 points over Daniel Ricciardo, who now slots into P2. If things stay as they are, he will lead the championship heading into the last race of the season. Oh my goodness. It's all kicked off. And there's no safety car as well. I can't believe it. But anyway, I'll press on. A safety car would have really helped us out in our strategy that we're employing at the moment. That's Sainz making a mistake into turn 1, so cheers for the free position. And that is P6. That's essentially the best position in the race I feel like we could probably get.
Charles currently in P9. We're leading our teammate by 4.4 seconds. They're on all super softs.
So just checking up on Charles and what his strategy is. He's on the exact same one as me, so that's good to see. He might be able to jump both the Renaults here. Once all the pit stops shake out, but I say this is probably the best position we're going to get. We just don't have the pace of a Mercedes, of a Ferrari, and arguably Red Bull. Red Bull is much quicker at this circuit versus than what they are at Mexico. So it's a battle to get P6. Essentially, we're in the fight with the Renaults and also the Force Indias. So that's kind of who we're targeting at the moment. We rejoin on the circuit just in front of Kevin Magnussen, I believe. Haas have kind of been nowhere in the last few episodes, despite them being the best midfield car. It's really confusing. They've had some major upgrades, but the performance is not showing, it seems. But anyway, lap 23, I think one of the Renaults just rejoined on the circuit behind us, and the other Renault, the second Renault, rejoined just in front of Charles, if I'm not mistaken. So hopefully a position swap can be made there. This is us going out the inside of Van Dorn, P8. Thank you very much. Next up is Grosjean. I believe he still needs to make another stop, so this should be a pretty easy exchange for us. Sergio Perez trying to make the move stick through turns 4 and 5. And he has got the job done. But he got held up massively there, so this is going to open up quite a cheeky battle for the next 10 laps. Up the inside of Grosjean, he kind of turns in across us, just like someone else did to us at Coda at the end of the long straight. And he gives us the squeeze through the middle sector as well, just for good measure. And that is us up into P7. Thank you very much. See you later. And we will get on with our race. Overtake mode is engaged. Rich fuel mixture, slipstream on Sergio Perez. And that's us up into P6 once again. So pace is looking good in this Grand Prix if you exclude the front runners. We just seem to have the edge over those guys. The straight line speed really just coming in clutch. And we're really just holding on in the corners, to be honest. And it seems to be the right recipe here at this Brazilian Grand Prix. Meanwhile, we dispatched a Perez. He then engaged in a battle with both the Renaults, and they were, battling quite a bit, holding each other up, and that just allowed me to just get away. I'm now in clear air, setting fastest personal best of my race, just teetering on the 10s and the 9s, and just bringing it home, really, just seeing what the pace is and trying to make sure they don't catch up to me. But it seems like a few gaps are starting to emerge. Sainz, Hulkenberg and Leclerc just not really in a battle with each other. The safety car has been deployed here with 3 laps to go. 3 laps. And I don't even know what the safety car was brought out for. It's just come out randomly. So there's that. And we have to contest with a very, very quick safety car before this race is out. So I honestly didn't know what to do. I thought about pitting, but I think we were going to lose too much time in the pit stop. There was just so many cars just stacked up behind us in a 5 to 10 second gap, so I decided to stay up on the soft compound tires. But the safety car was only out for like a lap, and we weren't able to catch up. So it's just it's a battle at the front for the top 3 teams, and Bottas, who's a little bit of a straggler, trying to catch up. But it's the last lap of the Grand Prix now, and Lewis Hamilton, crucially, has overtaken Ricciardo for P2 in this race, and this has a huge impact on the championship because now Ricciardo will not be leading. Hamilton will now buy his way in as well. We'll get a quick snapshot of the championship standings after this race, but I believe it's going to be a 2-way tie between Vettel and Ricciardo, and Hamilton will be 1 point away in 3rd place. Raikkonen wins the Grand Prix. Pretty standard stuff. He managed to absolutely bolt away after the restart. For us, once again, best of the rest.
Alright, race over. Take care of the car on the way in.
And as we can see, it's time for the podium, and as the drivers make their way out, there's a familiar red suit making its way to the top step. Fantastic win for Ferrari.
GG Raikkonen. He's been on a bit of a winning streak as of late. He didn't win Mexico, but I believe he's won like 2 or 3 races before that. So a shame that he had so many issues earlier on in the championship, which really set him apart from his teammate. If not for that, he would have been right in this battle. This could have been like a 4-way scrap for the lead of the championship. But it's P6. Charles, solid effort there. P8. He didn't really have the rub of the green there. He was kind of shoved off early after we overtook him, so in many ways we kind of screwed his race. But we're out here, we've got to look after ourselves at the end of the day. Let's have a look at the championship standings. Like I said, it's very, very tight at the top. Heading into the final episode of Season 1, Sebastian Vettel and Daniel Ricciardo are in an absolute showdown. And you can't discount Lewis Hamilton either, 1 point away in the Mercedes. What a season this has been. It's been toing and froing so much between the Red Bull drivers. Max Verstappen was in the fray earlier on in the season, but he had so many reliability issues which set him apart from the rest. What could have been?
Good day today. Tell us about it from your perspective. You had a bit of contact today. Who was at fault there?
Max Verstappen?
Have you learned a lot from your battle with your rival?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's mega quick. He's definitely pushed me on to be more competitive.
Do you have any comments about the collisions?
Not really. It happened. It's racing.
Great. Well, that's everything.
Thanks, Claire. That is the end of the Brazilian Grand Prix. Another failed rivalry with our teammate. He just seems to get the better of us every single time. His qualifying pace, more often than not, is better than ours. But I think what ultimately keeps getting him these victories is the fastest laps in the race. His race pace is very, very good. Something that's probably a little bit underrated in this career mode. Something that, you probably don't see all too much, but he is mega consistent. And when he does have a clean race, he is a force to be reckoned with. And when we're in the mix with the top front-running teams, I think he's going to be favourite to win the championship. It's going to be a real contest to see if we can beat him. I don't know what his AI level is out of 100, but I would say it's right up there. He is very, very difficult to beat on some weekends. And even on the weekends where I'm quick, he is right there with me as well in some capacity. But guys, that's been this episode for today. We've now done all the adaptations for the 2019 regulation. So we're not going to lose any upgrades. We're not going to lose any performance going forward into Season 2. The same probably can't be said for the AI, who have invested so much of their resources into the chassis and also the aero. Some teams are going to be taking a massive hit, and that could be the catapult we need to get into the top 3, the top 4 teams. We'll have to wait and see. Williams making some huge inroads lately, as of Haas have been. I just feel like these teams that continue to develop towards the end of the season, they've got to be taking heavy losses. There's no way that they're adapting their components for 2019. I could be wrong. They might just be doing engine upgrades, and if so, they might be fine for start of that next season. We'll have to wait and see. That's what's so interesting about this new feature. I can't wait to see how much the order changes and see where we shake up versus the rest of the pack. But that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to see plenty more F1 2018 content. Until the next one, the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, the finale of Season 1. I'll see you next time.